Hey there. Today we're going to talk about a word you've probably heard thrown around, safeguarding. Now I know, it can sound a bit formal, maybe even a little intense, but the goal here is to strip all that away and show you what it really is. Something simple, super practical, and honestly, vital for your entire apprenticeship. So let's get into it. Because at the end of the day, that's it. That's the whole thing. Forget the jargon and the official sounding language for a second. When you boil it all down, safeguarding is simply about keeping people safe. It's a promise, really, that you can learn and work in a place where you're protected and respected. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll nail down what safeguarding actually is. Then, we'll talk about how it works as a personal safety net just for you. We'll look at how to recognize when something's not right, the super simple steps for raising a concern, and finally, we'll touch on how this is really a team effort. All right, so Section 1. Let's get a really clear definition and move right past all that jargon. Okay, so here's the official line. Safeguarding refers to the UK's policies and processes that are all set up to protect people, from kids to adults, from things like harm, abuse, and exploitation. It's about your physical safety, sure, but it's also about your emotional and psychological well-being. It's a core part of any good organization, including your college and your workplace. You know, one of the biggest myths about safeguarding is that it's just for kids. And that is just not true. It's for adults too. Because let's be real, anyone can feel vulnerable at some point in their life. So whether you are 16 or 60, this is for you. It's for absolutely everyone. Okay, so let's see how this idea actually becomes something personal for you, that safety net we were talking about in your everyday life. This really is the best way to picture it. Safeguarding isn't some big brother thing watching over your shoulder. It's a safety net. It's that quiet background reassurance that if anything ever feels off or wrong, you're not alone. There are people whose job it is to listen and support you. And this net covers a lot more ground than you might think. It's relevant when you're traveling to and from work. It's there in all your interactions with colleagues and managers. It covers your life online, and it even touches on things like feeling overwhelmed with your workload. It's woven right through your entire experience as an apprentice. Now, a huge part of this is understanding professional boundaries. Look, an apprenticeship is an adult environment, but there are still clear lines of respect that should never be crossed. So, getting helpful guidance from your manager? That's appropriate. Being asked to do their personal errands? Nope, not appropriate. A friendly chat with colleagues is great. Discriminatory jokes are not. You deserve respect, period. And this is just so important to hear. Your mental health is a massive part of your overall safety. Feeling stressed trying to balance work and study, that's pretty normal. But safeguarding means you shouldn't have to just bottle that up and deal with it alone. Support is supposed to be there for you. For that safety net to really work, though, we first need to know what we're looking for, right? So this next part is all about recognizing the different ways harm can show up, kind of making the invisible visible. Harm can look like a lot of different things. Physical harm is usually the most obvious one we think of, but things like emotional abuse, someone trying to control your money, neglect, or being taken advantage of, those can be just as hurtful, even if there are no visible signs. Just knowing these categories exist is a huge first step to spotting when something's wrong. Now, there's one specific area of safeguarding called the prevent duty. This is all about protecting people who might be vulnerable to being pulled into extremist thinking. And let's be crystal clear about this. Its goal is to offer support to someone who seems to be in a bad spot. It is absolutely not about spying on people or policing what they think. It's a support measure, plain and simple. So what do you actually do if you see something or just get a bad feeling? Well, this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole thing, how to raise a concern, because your voice really does matter. The whole process is designed to be as simple as possible. Seriously. Step 1 is just trusting your gut. You feel like something isn't right, either for you or maybe for a colleague. Step 2, you get in touch with a designated safeguarding lead, or DSL. And step 3, well, that's it. You've done your part. They take it from there. It is not your job to figure it all out or play detective. If you only remember one thing from our chat today, please let it be this. You do not need proof. You don't need a folder of evidence. You don't need to be 100% certain. All you need is that feeling in your gut that something is off. That is more than enough to say something. And you can trust that if you do speak up, it will be handled carefully and professionally. Confidentiality is a huge part of the process. Information is only shared with the people who absolutely have to know in order to help. Okay, this brings us to our last big point. Safeguarding isn't just one person's job, it's on all of us. It's our shared responsibility to build a culture of safety. Because safeguarding really starts to work when it stops being a list of rules stuck on a wall and becomes something real, a living, breathing culture. A culture where just looking out for one another is, well, it's just what people do. Your tutors, your managers, your mentors, yep, they all have a part to play. But so do you. Just by being aware of this stuff, by knowing it's okay to speak up, and by treating everyone with respect, you become a really active, really important part of that safe culture. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you know the what, the why, and the how of safeguarding, how will you use it? How will you help create a safer, more supportive place for yourself and for everyone you work with?